Story time. In 1995, I went to a financial planner, and I had never done that before. And I was, I guess I was a little nervous because I had always made money, but I was never really great at managing it, to be perfectly honest. So I thought, I'm overdue. So I went to this financial planner, and he asked me, so, why are you here? What is it you want to know about your money or do with your money? And I said, well, you know, I I have some dreams. I and I'm gonna need some funding for those dreams. And he says, oh, he says, well, great. He says, people, I said, people planning for college education, all that kind of stuff. I said, I have a different kind of a lifestyle. There's some things in my heart that I've always wanted to do. And he said, well, that's great. He says, terrific. Like what? And I said, well, first, I said, I want to make a living doing work I love. And I've always wanted to be a writer. And I, somehow a professional writer, make my money as a writer. And I kind of got waylaid. And, here I am with a graduate degree working for an insurance company. and um, it's just it doesn't fit for me. So I want to really begin the journey of doing what I call my right work. And he said, okay. I said, well, and also I said, I've always wanted to take a trip around the world. And I said, I've had this idea in my mind now for, I guess it had been about not quite 10 years. I guess it was been about 7 years at that point, 6 or 7 years. I said, I've had this idea in my mind. I said, one of my former bosses at another company I worked for took a leave of absence and went around the world. And I thought, really? I mean, you can do that? And, he wasn't some celebrity or some distant person that I read about. I mean, he was my boss, and he was a regular guy, smart guy, but a regular guy. And I thought, well, if Peter can do it, I can do it. So I had started to do some research on traveling around the world and how much it would cost, given, let's say, about a 6-month trip, which is what my former boss had done. So the financial planner, the financial planner looked at me and he says, "So you want to take a trip around the world and you want to make your living writing books?" He was like, "Wouldn't we all?" And I was stunned. I'm still stunned having that memory, and that was quite some time ago. And it shut me down. I Now I would have gotten up out of the chair, and I would have walked out of the office because I've earned my stripes. You can see the color, the gray stripes in my hair. But at the time, I was a much younger person, and I did have concerns about existing in polite society. Now I don't give a crap. But uh, I was just so stunned, so I stayed and let him do his financial planner thing. And I never went back and I never saw him again. I have two postscripts to that story of my meeting in 1995. The first is that uh, in the year 2000, 5 years later, I did in fact take a solo trip around the world. I wanted to go with somebody. I've been trying to find friends for 10 years. And a lot of people love the idea of traveling around the world, but no one was prepared to put their proverbial stake in the ground, either financially or really creating the space in their life to do it. And that's fine. Everybody has different priorities. But for me, it was a high priority, and it remained a high priority. It was going to remain a high priority until I did it, and it was gnawing at me. So I did it, and I left in March of 2000, and I came back in September of 2000. And of course, we all who live in the United States, well, actually the whole world knows, but uh, I literally a year to the day, I came back September 12th, 2000, and almost a year to the day later, um, the events of September 11th happened, and how the how we travel certainly changed, forever changed. And I'm not sure I would have gone if had I waited a year later. So, first of all, I took that trip, and secondly, I wrote 10 years later, actually 1995. 4 years later, I became a columnist for the Hartford Courant, which is Connecticut's largest newspaper, and it's a two-time Pulitzer Prize-winning newspaper. I was still working my day job, but I was earning a nice little chunk of change as a columnist, and I was beginning the journey of finally living a dream I had had since 1965 when I was a little girl. And I have independently published 9 books, and my first novel will be my 10th book, and I started that journey in 2005. So that's the first postscript. Actually, there's three. The second postscript is perhaps you've shared your journey of writing your first novel with one or more persons, and if you have, I hope they've been supportive. In the past, I have not had that kind of support in every quarter. I've certainly had that support. I'm not going to say everybody in my life acted the way that financial planner did, but even people who are close to me were they scoffed. And, you write a book or whatever, you got a master's degree, you have a nice job, and I'm like, they just they weren't hearing me, they weren't seeing, excuse me, what I wanted. They were reacting uh, through their own filters, as we all do. So I'm cautious, not overly cautious, but I'm cautious about with whom and I share my dreams, because dreams are precious things. They're like soap bubbles. They're embryonic, and they can be destroyed, frankly, very easily. And I've also loved people in my life who never recovered from tattered dreams, and it's very hard to watch. So, uh, you know, take care with whom you share this journey, and know that if you get support, that's great, and I hope you do, and I suspect you will. There are people who love you and care for you, but even people who love you and care for you for their own reasons, none that you need analyze or dissect or judge, they're not able to be a dream holder for you. So you share with those people who can, and if not, you keep your own counsel. And you share it with me in comments on YouTube, or you go to other sections of YouTube, and there's so many artists, so many writers who are sharing their journeys and who will cheer you on. And I've gotten so much from them, and that is precisely why I am doing what I'm doing. The third postscript comes to you is really a corollary to the second postscript, and it comes to you um, from the poet Edgar Albert Guest, um, who was born in 1818, and he died in 1959. My father used to read to me when I was a little girl. He read to me until the age of 14, when he left. And uh, some of my fondest childhood memories are of bedtime and dad reading to me. So this was one of our many favorite poems. Somebody said that it couldn't be done. But he, with a chuckle, replied, said, maybe it couldn't, but he would be one who wouldn't say so till he tried. So he buckled right in with a trace of a grin on his face. If he worried, he hid it. He started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. Somebody scoffed, "Oh, you'll never do that. At least no one has ever done it." Well, he took off his coat, then he took off his hat, and the next thing we knew, he'd begun it. He just buckled right in with a bit of a grin without any doubting or quitting. He started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done. And he did it. There are thousands to tell you cannot be done. There are thousands who prophesy failure. There are thousands who point out to you one by one the dangers that wait to assail you. Just buckle right in with a bit of a grin, take off your coat and go to it. Just start to sing as you tackle the thing that couldn't be done, and you will do it. Have a great week.